Section 1.6 talks about using the distributive property to simplify algebraic expressions. So right here in this little box we have what the distributive property is. It says for real numbers a, b, and c, a times the quantity b plus c in parentheses is equal to a times b plus a times c. We call this the distributive property because what we're doing is we're multiplying this number here times b, and we're multiplying this number here times c. So our first problem here says we're going to simplify. So I'm going to draw a little arrow. The 6 is going to multiply times both those pieces. So first off, 6 times 3x, well 6 times 3 is just an 18. That just becomes an 18x. 6 times 6 is 36, and because it has a y, it stays as a y. And that's all we're doing there. Okay. Let's try the next one here. So we're going to go negative 3 times 2a. Negative 3 times, I can think about this as a negative 4b. So negative 3 times a positive 2 is a negative 6 with an a. A negative 3 times a negative 4 would give me a positive 12 with the letter b. Okay. Let's do the same thing for the next one here. We're just multiplying. 10 times a negative 2 is a negative 20 with an m. Minus, I can think of the number in front of that n as a 1. 10 times negative 1, negative 10 with the letter n. Okay. All right. So in this problem here, I don't necessarily see a number there, but it's understood that that number is going to be negative 1. So we're going to multiply negative 1 times both those pieces. I can think of that number again being positive 1. So negative 1 times negative 3y is a positive 3y. A negative 1 times a positive 1x is a negative 1x. Okay. Let's try the next one here. Again, we'll go the same way. 1, 2, 3. All right, so we have negative 3 times a positive 4x. That's a negative 12x. A negative 3 times a positive 8 is a negative 24. And a negative 3 times a negative 6 is a positive 18 with a y. All right. So for our last problem here, I want us to notice something. We have a fraction in front, but the rest of these other numbers here are not fractions. So I want to think about each of them as a fraction. I'm going to think about each of those numbers as being over 1. Okay? And remember how we multiply fractions. We multiply straight across. So the top numbers get multiplied with the top numbers, and the bottom numbers get multiplied with the bottom numbers. So 2 times a negative 27 is a negative 54, then a to the 4th. 2 times 9 gives me an 18 with an a squared. And 2 times negative 21 gives me a negative 42. Now let's come back and do the bottom. Well, look, it's 3 times 1, 3 times 1, 3 times 1. Each of those numbers are 3. And my last step here is I'm going to see if we can divide those numbers out. So let's see, negative 54 divided by 3. Negative 18. A to the 4th. 3 goes into 18 6 times, a squared. And 3 goes into 42. Let's see, 42 divided by 3, 14. And we are done.